Thank you for joining us again during our continued coverage of election 2020. Tonight, we're going to speak with Rock Springs City Council Ward 3 candidates Larry Hickerson and Ryan Green. In an all too familiar scene lately, a lonely face staring into a web camera, we had to conduct these interviews by Zoom. My colleague Dave Ehrenbell, who's going to join me shortly, we both reached out to a few venues and we could not make it happen during COVID and some of the restrictions going on. So this was the next best thing. We hope to be able to change it up and have something a little more interactive for the general election. But we appreciate you joining us, and we'll get started.
Welcome back to our continued coverage of election 2020 here on Sweetwater Now. Tonight we're going to be conducting the candidate forums for Rock Springs City Council Ward 3. And our guests tonight, of course, our candidates tonight, are Larry Hickerson and Ryan Green. I'm Dave Ehrenbell along with Gary Collins. And guys, before we get started, just want to review the rules for you here just a little bit. It's just going to be like a regular forum. We're going to start out here by giving both candidates 3 full minutes for an introductory statement at the beginning of the forum here, and then we're going to get into our question period, our question section, and we have 7 questions for you guys tonight because there's just the 2 of you. We've added a couple more questions from what we've been normally doing this week. And then at the end of that question period, just to review, you will have 90 seconds to answer each question, by the way. And then at the end of that, we're going to give you 2 minutes for a final pitch. And you can let people know why you think that you should be elected to Rock Springs City Council Ward 3. We also want to extend a special thank you to our community leaders who are sponsoring these forums, Jenner, Wyoming, and Genesis Alkali. Thanks to them, we're able to pull this off. So if you guys are ready to go, we'll go ahead and get started with Larry. We'll keep a timer on you, and we do have a 10-second buzzer that sounds like this. And when your allotted time is up, we will sound this.
Okay.
All right. So, Larry, we're going to go ahead and start with you. Why don't you go ahead and take 3 minutes or up to 3 minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself, your platform, and we'll get started that way.
All right. The family's been here for 6 generations. We've been here long enough to see all the ups and downs that come from relying on mineral extraction to move your economy. I've worked at Solvay Chemicals for the last 14 years. I also co-own and operate Square State Brewing. Before that, I worked in the oil field for a handful of years. I've got 3 children with my wife. We've been together for 13 years. I've been on Solvay's mine rescue team since 2010. See, boy, there's not a whole lot there. I'm running because I think I have what it takes to make downtown or make Rock Springs grow by focusing on downtown. I think that's the lifeblood of our economy. I want to help with the budget, try to balance that out, just make Rock Springs thrive. I guess that's about it.
Okay. And Ryan, go ahead. You have 3 minutes to make your opening statement.
Okay, well, let me begin by thanking the team at Sweetwater Now for hosting this event. I believe it is extremely important to get to know the candidates, to be involved in the process and to make informed decisions. About a month ago, I was appointed to the city council to fill the seat that was recently vacated by Councilwoman Windorf. And I am so grateful for the opportunity to serve Ward 3 and the city of Rock Springs. So, a huge thanks to Councilwoman Windorf for all of her service for the past 12 years. And, if I am fortunate enough to remain on the council, it is my intention to continue the great work that she has pioneered. So a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Rock Springs, graduated from Rock Springs High School in 2000. Go Tigers. And then I went to college and graduated with a degree in business management. I married my high school sweetheart, Lindsay. We've been married for 17 wonderful years. We have 2 kids, our 14-year-old son, Carson, and our 11-year-old daughter, Kinley. And for the past 2 decades, I have worked as operations director in my family's oil and gas business. And my role there was to oversee the day-to-day operations along with, cost reduction and process improvement solutions. And currently, I work with a great team at Genesis Alkali using my background in Lean Six Sigma and optimization. These types of systems, these tools and methods will be needed as we head into this economic storm that is lurking in front of us. So in my free time, I'm an avid reader. I believe in lifelong learning. And I think John Wooden, the great basketball coach, said it best when he said, when you're through learning, you're through. And I believe that. Also in my free time, my family and I love the outdoors. You're going to see us riding our bikes around town, running on the walking trails out north, and catching us at the lake on Sundays. There's simply no better place to live than Wyoming. But for me, serving others and being a part of something bigger than myself, it's a passion of mine. I volunteer for several events and organizations around this community, coach my kids' sports, as well as ran for U.S. Congress in 2016 and for the mayorship of Rock Springs in 2018. My campaign, it's about using data to make better decisions. It's about making complex problems visible and understandable for everyone who has a stake in seeing better outcomes and results. But really, my campaign, what it's all about is serving people well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for your opening statements, and we're going to move on to the question section of tonight's forum, and I'll let Gary take it away.
All right, guys. Ryan, I'm going to start with you. First question is, what do you believe is the biggest issue facing Rock Springs at this moment?
Great question, Gary. Thank you for the question. I think we all agree that the biggest issue is our current economic state. The city is facing a $7 million budget gap, and the state is facing a $1.5 billion deficit. So the question is what are we going to do about it? And we can't cut our way to prosperity. I believe that we need new ideas, new tools, new strategies. And that is why I believe my background with lean methodology will serve to lessen the impact to our city and our citizens. Now, lean was developed by Toyota to improve processes and be as efficient as possible. It is not about cutting people. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's doing the hard work to improve the way that we do business to save jobs. And I believe that we need to start doing this work right now. We need to be planning and implementing the best strategies now. So what does this look like? Well, it's sharing resources and inventory warehousing that we can streamline processes and eliminate waste. It's leveraging our buying power with the county to get better prices on supplies. The system works, and I know of no other cost-saving methods that produces results time and time again.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Larry, same question for you. What do you believe is the biggest issue facing Rock Springs at this moment?
I would say the budget and the economy are the biggest issue. I think we need to continue to grow our economy. I feel the city's been doing a good job of that so far by working with the URA. I think with the budget, we need to look at what our expenditures are, see, maybe look at this on-call pay that was in the budget items, see what that's all about. I haven't had the opportunity to discuss any of this with anybody, but I'd like to look at the on-call pay. I saw that people were potentially getting paid just to be on call. I would look at working with our state legislators to find more grants and make sure we keep the direct deposit for our taxes with our lack of tax base. I think we need to avoid any sort of hiring freeze or layoff. We need to maybe look at the maintenance intervals on the vehicles and try to see with the new technology that's in vehicles nowadays if we can stretch that out and try to save money there as far as budget goes. That's about it.
All right, thank you, Larry. All right, Larry, as a follow-up to that, in your own ward, what do you believe is the biggest issue facing your constituents?
After talking to several constituents, they've all told me that their biggest concern, and I would agree with them, is the infrastructure with the loss of the tax base we're about to see. They feel that beautification is the first place to go, and weed control. I talked to one individual out there in the Central West Division, and they were worried about all the weeds out by Lion Coal Road and said that road was in poor shape with a bunch of potholes. And after driving on it afterward, I would have to agree. So infrastructure, making sure our roads aren't chip sealed, make sure they're at least getting recapped versus rebuilt, try to find a happy medium there.
All right. And Ryan, the same thing. When you look at your own ward there in Ward 3, what do you believe is the biggest issue for your constituents?
Well, visiting with folks in Ward 3, there are issues that we need to address, such as the walking path along Foothill Boulevard. It needs some repairs, weed removal around Springs Drive, and things of that nature. But really, I see ourselves as one city, not necessarily individual wards. And, I can tell you, folks are worried about the economy. Many are uncertain about their jobs. Or where to find a job if they're laid off. We see companies laying off employees, closing up shop and leaving town. These are our friends. These are our constituents. These are our neighbors. And these folks are looking for us for the answers. So this is why I think we need to do everything we can to promote our small businesses, to market our great outdoors, to aggressively pursue grants, work with the Wyoming Business Council, legislators at the state level to ensure that, Rock Springs is in the conversation, that we have a voice and that we're heard. And, let's be honest, no one is going to do this for us. It's up to us. So we need to roll up our sleeves and do the work that needs to be done.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. All right. Next question. Ryan, how involved should the city council be in the future development of downtown Rock Springs?
I think the city council should really lead this effort. Developing our downtown with a long-term vision, I think is absolutely critical to ensure that we continue to grow, that we continue to prosper, and to achieve sustainability. There is no doubt that I think we have the right person at the helm with Chad Banks and what his team's doing down there at the URA. But as a city council, we have tools, we have resources that we can use to help promote, attract, and connect with new businesses. So, it would be a priority of mine to put together a think tank or a task force with other council members and stakeholders in the community to discuss these future developments and what that looks like. Put the best ideas on the table and work together to make them a reality. Because I think now more than ever, we need leaders who will focus on what is possible, not the impossible. And it's just time that we put more focus on the solutions rather than the problem.
All right. Larry, same question. How involved should the city council be in the future development of downtown Rock Springs?
Well, I think their involvement is absolutely crucial, but at the end of the day, I'd like to see the URA become the autonomous voice of that, get them to where they can actively chase leads on their own and not have to come to the city council to get approval for everything they do. The parts I'd like to see Rock Springs do is maybe look at the tap fee for the fire suppression systems. I know as in opening square state, that directly affected our occupancy due to the price of the tapping fee. So if we could maybe look at doing a occupancy based fire suppression tap fee versus a one size fits all type, I think that'd help stoke building in downtown Rock Springs a little more.
Okay. Dave, I'm going to pass it off to you for the next few questions.
Okay. Let's go with Larry first on this one. Larry, how will Rock Springs and the council continue to navigate through the COVID-19 pandemic?
I think it's wise to keep following the governor's orders. I know nobody likes to wear a mask. And, but if you look at all the high risk, every one of us knows, we know somebody who's high risk. The mask saves lives. It's data proves that it shortens the time and the risk of catching COVID or spreading COVID. We've got a lot of out-of-state people moving to Wyoming due to our low volume of COVID cases. So with that comes inherent risk. So basically follow the governor's orders. You need to mask up. A lot of businesses are moving that route. So be prepared, I guess.
Okay, thank you, Larry. And now I'll kick that question over to Ryan. Ryan, how will Rock Springs and the council continue to navigate through the COVID-19 pandemic?
When I stood in front of the council, I told them that my decisions would be data-based, and I think this is no different. We need to follow the data. We need to follow the experts' advice. And listen, I'm no different than anyone else. I am so ready for this to be over and return to, somewhat of a normal life. But this is not only a health crisis, but it's also an economic crisis as well. So the quicker that we can get this under control will result in less people being sick, less deaths, and a road to economic recovery. And just last week, the experts at the CDC and the medical community said that COVID-19 could be under control in 4 to 8 weeks if everyone in the United States wore a mask. Now, I'm not quite that optimistic, but I do agree with the Governor Gordon when he reminded us that, we all have rights in this country, which is the greatest thing about living in the United States. But along with those rights come responsibility. And so I think as a city and as a council, we can promote a responsible response to this COVID crisis by encouraging everyone to wear a mask, maintaining social distancing, avoid, crowded spaces, and above all, set the example. Together we're going to get through this, and the sooner the better.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. And I'm going to keep it here with you for this next question. How can Rock Springs improve its economic diversification?
Well, this is going to be hard work. There's no doubt about it. And this is something that we talk about every election cycle. And after the election, after November, it seems to just kind of fade away. But I think it's time that we stop talking about it and we actually get to work. Form a think tank, bring the problems and the challenges to the surface, develop strategies, and let's move forward. No one's going to do this for us, but let's have those discussions around innovation, emerging industries such as hemp and 3D printing and Bitcoin, warehousing storage for Amazon, manufacturing jobs using our raw products such as soda ash and lithium. I believe that the time is now, and I am absolutely committed to working together to make this happen. Now, I don't have all the answers or the solutions, but I believe in this community, and together I know that we can rise up, meet this challenge, and finally get this rolling. But I think it's just something that we give lip service to every election, and the time is now that we collaborate, cooperate, implement, and get this going.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. And Larry, same question. How can Rock Springs improve its economic diversification?
Well, again, work with the URA, work with the county on that industrial complex they're looking at putting out east of town here. Trying to streamline the process to open businesses, improve communication between the departments and inspections. I know it was a hassle trying to talk to person A when you actually had to talk to person B, but we didn't know. I've talked to other people who said waiting for inspections was a little bit trying at times when they were building out. Once we do get things rolling with that, I'd like to maybe improve the airport, try to get water out there. It's a large enough airport it could handle cargo planes and that coming in and out with the access we have to the airport, the UP, and the interstate. We have ample opportunity to bring some manufacturing here and try to grow that. I think we need to actively chase interested companies to make sure we do what we can to bring them here.
Okay, thank you. And Larry, I'm going to keep it here with you for this next question and going back and forth. Have you had the opportunity to review the city's budget, and what are your ideas about balancing the budget?
Well, as I said earlier, I have looked at it a little bit. I haven't looked at it too in detail, but the biggest thing I can see is maybe a couple inefficiencies with, or I guess I can't call them inefficiencies, but a couple things that I don't actually have the knowledge of to make a finalized decision. But looking at a couple of our expenditures, like on-call pay, or instead of sending people out for training, if it's a large enough department, get them certified to instruct it, and they can teach the entire, say, fire department or the police force instead of shipping them all out to get trained out of state or off site.
Okay, thanks, Larry. And now the question to you, Ryan. I imagine you've had the opportunity to review the city's budget, but what are your ideas in balancing the budget?
Yeah, yeah, I have read it. Certainly not at the same level of understanding as Councilman West or Councilman Zotti, but I have read it. But this is where I would like to work with the other councilors and the mayor to implement a lean initiative. Let's take a look. Let's analyze the budget and identify areas where we can eliminate waste. Let's improve the processes, drive down cost while we're saving jobs. What I'm doing, I'm currently working on developing an outline of what this looks like to put in front of the other councilors and mayor for feedback and suggestions. Republican Governor Scott Walker a few years back signed an executive order mandating that all local governments implement a lean initiative. And former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, said that he could balance the budget and reduce the deficit by implementing lean principles at the federal level. And I agree with these guys, and I strongly encourage that we implement this at the local level as well, because I think Rock Springs has an opportunity to implement the best practices and also show the state what smart government looks like.
Okay, thank you. Well, guys, we've reached the last question here of the forum, and I'm going to stay with Ryan here on this one. Ryan, what sets you apart from your opponent?
Well, look, I mean, the truth is I love Larry. He's a great guy. I think the world of Larry. We went to school together. He makes fantastic beer. So nothing against Larry, nothing but respect for throwing his hat in the ring. But I believe it's my background in lean methodology, process improvement, cost reduction, especially when we're looking at the current economic storm that we're about to head into. The old strategies that we used to rely on will not serve us well in the future. We need the new tools. We need new strategies to put in place so that we can lessen the burden to the people of Rock Springs. And we need to be doing this work now. We can't wait for the storm to hit us to look for shelter. We need to put up barriers to protect our citizens the best we can. But that's on the defensive side. And also, we need to play offense. We need to be aggressive in working with our legislators, which I know many of them and have a relationship with them to be in the conversation about getting dollars back to Rock Springs to pursue leads, pursue grants, these sort of things. So a two-pronged strategy, from a lean initiative to an offensive side where we are aggressive about going after new business opportunities and promoting our businesses. But, it's for me, it's about serving the people. It's about doing the best job. And I think both candidates here have that in mind. And again, I want to thank Larry for throwing his hat in the ring.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. And Larry, a final question here. What sets you apart from your opponent?
Well, I want to say thanks for the kind words, Ryan. I know, Ryan, I have nothing bad to say about him. I would say it sets me apart that I'm more of a doer. Ryan's a wonderful speaker. I lack in that department. I put my nose to the grindstone and I get things done. Instead of goal, I strive to accomplish it. I'm not good at using buzzwords or anything. I just say what I need to say, whether it's eloquent or not. I'm more of a let's get in and get it done. Come at me, come with solutions instead of problems.
Okay, thanks, Larry. So that's going to end our question portion of the forum, and it brings us to our final section of the forum. I'll let Gary go ahead and lead that portion of it.
All right, guys, we appreciate you taking the time tonight and getting on here and letting the public and our readers learn a little bit more about you as we move into the primary election. And of course, for the both of you, we have a little bit longer of a road to the general election. And so I am sure the four of us will be doing this again. So here at the end, we just want to give you 2 minutes, give your final pitch. This is kind of why should the people in Ward 3 vote for you? And so I think we're going to let Ryan go first on this one. Ryan, we'll give you 2 minutes on the clock and we'll let you go.
All right. Well, thanks again, Dave, and your entire staff. Thank you, Mr. Collins, for hosting this event. We really appreciate it. You know, given our current political climate, I believe that the greatest political challenge that we face as a self-governing people is a lack of trust. But perhaps a new way of, governing holds the promise to a better way forward. And so our campaign is not about excuses or scapegoating. It's about real solutions to the real big problems of a struggling economy and reduced tax revenues. Our campaign is about doing the things that work to move us forward as individuals, as communities, and as a people. At the end of the day, it's all about making better choices for better results. Results that make a positive difference in the lives of every individual, in the lives of our kids, and in the life of the common good that we share. We do this by setting clear goals, measuring progress, and getting things done. We start and we don't stop. We lift up the leaders and we lead. Please feel free to connect with me via email at Ryan_Greene, GREENE at rswy.net. Connect with me on Facebook anytime or call me at 307-389-1745. I'm also holding office hours at City Hall every other week to visit with all of you about the issues and to listen to your suggestions. So, I just encourage everyone, let's keep the conversation going. And I would be honored to earn your vote in August and November and continue representing Ward 3 and Rock Springs on the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, Larry, same thing. 2 minutes on the clock. Let us know, why should the people of Ward 3 vote for you?
Well, I'd like to say thank you, Dave and Gary, Sweetwater Now, as well as the sponsors for helping us do this. I feel like I stand up for what I believe, whether I'm alone or not. I'm not one to give in to peer pressure or intimidation tactics. I believe in transparency. I feel like I'm a normal, everyday Rock Springs citizen. I feel I want what the average citizen wants. I feel I got direct skin in the game by owning a downtown business. I do get to talk to a lot of other business owners downtown, and a lot of us share the same concerns as far as the older buildings go. And I say I'm thankful for the time to get to talk to you guys, and I'd appreciate every vote I get. If you have any questions, feel free to call me at 307-399-1020, or feel free to email me at lhick123@gmail.com. Or you can get a hold of me on Facebook on my Larry Hickerson from City Council Ward 3 page. Feel free to message me there.
All right. Thank you, Larry. Okay, guys, I'm going to kick it over to Dave to finish off. And again, I just want to thank you both for joining us.
Well, guys, again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know this is not the absolute most convenient way to hold a forum. It's certainly out of the ordinary, but we certainly do appreciate your time. And as Gary had mentioned before, you guys are both going to be moving on to the general election as everybody in Ward 3 gets to vote for 2 people. So get ready for another one in the general election. We'll be doing this again. So, guys, once again, thanks so much for your time tonight, and best of luck to both of you in your campaign for City Council Ward 3.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you for what you do, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, guys. And also, we want to extend another special thank you to our community leaders, Jenner, Wyoming, and Genesis Alkali, for their sponsorship of our forums. Without their community partnerships, we wouldn't be able to get this information out to the constituents of Sweetwater County in all of the different races. So we do appreciate them. I'm Dave Arabella along with Gary Collins. Thanks for joining us, folks, and we will talk to you soon.